Hey friends, today's gospel is blowing my mind. It's one I've read many times, as well as I'm sure many of you have, but there's something about it today that's really hit me. And I wanted to just make a little video and share it with you today. It's John 14:27 through 31. I probably won't get through all of it because I'm just so blown away by the first couple verses. Jesus said to his disciples, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give it to you. Do not let your hearts be troubled or afraid." Let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about the world's peace. Where does peace come from in the world? It comes from believing that you can control your circumstances and that you are supposed to have like the most perfect circumstances of all. But if you think about it, why do some people with really awesome circumstances lack peace? I mean, think about it. You see some people who have a lot of money, they have a lot of, they're healthy, they have adulation and everything that the world needs, and yet they're so messed up. We see this all the time. People that have it all, and yet they are miserable, addicted, and their relationships are a disaster. You know what I'm talking about. So clearly, our circumstances don't necessarily lead to peace. And you also see other people who have very little from a worldly perspective, and maybe they're sick and dying, or they've got problems in the world or whatever, yet there's something about them where they have this incredible peace. I've seen that as many times as the other one too. So peace is not about what your circumstance is from the standpoint of Christ. The world's peace is about, hey, here's what I want and I get to control it. But what we realize is that even when we get what we want, it doesn't lead to peace, because that's not the kind of peace that we're created for. Jesus says this, "Not as the world gives, do I give it to you. Do not let your hearts be troubled or afraid." Let's talk about that for a second. So if peace is about, from the world's perspective, is about having control, Jesus says, "My peace is not like that." Then that means that your peace is not about having control. But wait a second. He also says, "Do not let your hearts be troubled." This means that you do have control over what you choose to do with your heart. And if you choose to take what you have control over, which is your heart, and offer that to the Lord and have relationship with him, and you love him and trust him and obey him, then he will give you a peace that doesn't come from control, but you have to let go of that. He doesn't just beat you over the head with it and impose that upon you against your will. He invites you into that through your will. So yes, we do have control, but he's inviting us to take the control that we do have and offer up our desire to control everything and have everything a certain way to him. And if we do, we can have peace. So if you've been struggling with that, if you feel like, man, no matter what I do, no matter what I get, no matter what I achieve or what I purchase or whatever happens to me, I just can't find that peace. Maybe the answer is for you to stop trying to control everything except for what's going on in your heart. Let that go, give it up to the Lord, and receive the peace that he wants to give you. Because what I'm telling you is this: when you allow him to come into your heart, when you allow him to take control, when you allow him to cover you with his grace, to reconcile you to God, to forgive your sins and to give you new life and to create a new spirit in you, then whatever this world throws at you, whatever's out of your control from a worldly perspective, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because you have that which does matter, and that's relationship with God. That's where your peace comes from. And that's what Jesus was telling the disciples. And that's what he's telling us today, my friends. So have that peace. Do not let your heart be troubled. You might feel like you can't control it. I'm just out of control. There's no peace in my life. You have control, but what you do with it matters. And it's all about whether you give that up or whether you give it to God. I hope that's been helpful to you today, my friends. Check out the gospel. I didn't read all of it today. So John 14:27 through 31. Check it out and be thankful and give praise to God today. And may we all have that peace that Jesus gives to us. God bless you guys.